I never imagined that a single letter could shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. It arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, tucked between grocery stores and bills. At RSD glance, it looked ordinary, just an envelope with my name scrawled across it. But as I held it in my hands, I felt something strange, almost like a weight pressing down on me. Inside, there was no return address, no sender's name. Just a short line that froze me in place. Your father left you more than just his house, but only if you were willing to uncover the truth. My hands began to tremble. My father had been gone for nearly 10 years. What truth could there possibly be left to uncover? My name is Richard. I am 56 years old, and for most of my life I believed I knew exactly who my father was. He was a simple manufactory worker who spent his evenings in an old armchair, reading the newspaper until he dozed out. He left us nothing but debts when he died, or so I thought. The truth is, I hadn't spoken about him in years. My relationship with him was complicated, led with long silences and unspoken disappointment. When the heart attack took him, I mourned, but I also felt relief. At least the arguments were over. And yet that envelope on my kitchen table was telling me his story wasn't finished. I remember staring out the window that morning, quite growing cold in my hands, wondering if I even wanted to open this door. At my age, you don't expect your life to change drastically. But that letter, it promised secrets, and secrets always come with a price. So I did what I swore I would never do again. I went back to my father's house. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Paint peeling from the shutters, weeds choking the garden, the mailbox hanging crooked as if it too had given up. I stood there for a long while before I could bring myself to unlock the door. The moment I stepped inside, a wave of memories hit me, the smell of old tobacco, the faint creak of the wooden orboards, the dust dancing in the sunlight. But there was something else too. A silence. Not the peaceful kind, but heavy, almost watchful. On the dining table lay a box. Not dusty, not forgotten, recently placed. Its surface was clean, and a single brass key sat on top. I knew it hadn't been there 10 years ago when we cleared the house after his death. I picked up the key, and for the RST time in decades, I felt my father's presence. It was as if he had left me a trail to follow. But why? And why now, after all these years? I turned the box slowly, and carved faintly on the bottom were 3 words that made my stomach tighten. For the truth. I slid the brass key into the lock on the box. It turned with a reluctant click, as though it hadn't been opened in decades. Inside, wrapped in yellow cloth, lay a bundle of letters tied with a fraying ribbon, and beneath them, a small black notebook with my father's handwriting across the cover, read only when you are ready. My heart pounded. I had never known my father to keep a diary. He was a man of few words, and even fewer explanations. I untied the ribbon, hands shaking, and began skimming the RSD letter. It wasn't he addressed to me. It wasn't he addressed to anyone. It was a confession. I have hidden something that belongs to you. One day you will understand why. But know this. It is not money, nor land, nor jewels. It is heavier than gold and more dangerous than debt. I froze. He had nothing to hide. Or so I believed. Yet the words on the page suggested a side of him I had never seen. And then, as if to confirm that this was no ordinary inheritance, I noticed something in the corner of the box, a folded newspaper clipping dated 1979. My father would have been a young man then. The headline read, "Local man found dead in mysterious circumstances," and scrawled across the margin, in his familiar sharp handwriting, "This is where it began." I couldn't take my eyes off that newspaper clipping. The man in the article had died not far from the town where my father grew up. The details were vague and unexplained injuries, and no witnesses. The case remains open. But why would my father keep this for over 40 years? I ate through more of the letters. Some were almost unreadable, smudged with time. But a few lines stood out like cracks in a wall. He trusted me with it. I swore I would keep it safe. If they ever come looking, you must decide for yourself whether to continue or destroy it. It does not belong to me, it belongs to you. I pushed the notebook aside, suddenly aware of how quiet the house had become. That silence again. Heavy. Too heavy. And then I heard it forwards groaning upstairs. Just once. Just enough to raise the hair on the back of my neck. I hadn't been upstairs yet. The rational part of me whispered it was the wood settling, but another voice, darker and older, whispered something else. You are not alone here. I tightened my grip on the notebook. Whatever my father left behind, it wasn't just an inheritance. It was a warning. I forced myself up the stairs, one careful step at a time, clutching the notebook like a shield. The air grew colder with each step, the kind of cold that doesn't come from an open window but from something older, heavier. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched out, lined with closed doors I hadn't opened since I was a boy. I tried the RSD when nothing unusual. Just dust and forgotten furniture. The second door, though, stuck halfway, as if something blocked it from the inside. With a hard shove, it gave way. That's when I saw it. Against the far wall stood an old wardrobe. But it wasn't the wardrobe that froze me, it was the markings carved into its wood. Strange, deliberate shapes, circles within circles, with lines crossing through them. My father's handwriting appeared again, faint but clear, "Do not open." My breath caught. I remembered this wardrobe. It had always been in the house, always locked. As a child, I thought it was led with all cuts or tools. But now I wasn't so sure. I pulled the brass key from my pocket, the same one that had opened the box downstairs. Out of instinct, I tried it in the wardrobe's lock. And as I turned it, the wardrobe gave a low, metallic groan, as if something inside had been waiting for decades. The door creaked open, and a stale rush of air spilled out, thick with a scent of dust and something else metallic, almost like rust. Inside, there were no cuts, no tools. Instead, the wardrobe had been hollowed out to create a hidden compartment. On the all lay a wooden chest, smaller than the wardrobe itself, but heavy-looking, reinforced with iron straps. This side had rested a bundle of old photographs bound together with string. I crouched down, picked up the photos, and felt my chest tighten. They were black and white. Some were blurry, but the faces were unmistakable. My father was in them much younger, standing with men I didn't recognize. They looked tense, watchful. And in every picture, they were near the same location, a run-down building with a crooked sign that read Hallway and Sons Warehouse. But one photograph nearly made me drop the stack. It was of the dead man from the newspaper clipping, the same face, the same name. And there in the corner of the picture, half hidden in shadow, was my father. My hand shook. What had he been involved in? I turned back to the chest. Its lock was all different from the brass key. I tried anyway. The key slid in like it belonged there. The lid groaned open, and inside was something that made my stomach lurch, an envelope, thick and sealed with red wax, marked only with my name. The envelope felt heavy, almost unnatural, as though the paper itself carried the burden. My name was written across the front, and my father's hand around, deliberate strokes. For a moment, I couldn't bring myself to break the seal. Part of me feared that whatever was inside would change the way I remembered him forever. Finally, with a deep breath, I tore the wax open. Inside was a letter, several pages long. The handwriting wavered in places, as though written under great strain. "Richard," it began, "if you are reading this, then it means time has caught up with me, and the truth can no longer stay buried. I did things in my youth that I never wanted to stay in your life. I was entrusted with something dangerous, something men would kill for, and did kill for. The man you read about in the newspaper was not a stranger. He was part of it. He died because of it, and I swore to protect it at any cost." My pulse quickened. The words blurred as I read on. "You will lend more answers in the notebook, but beware if others discover you possess it, they will come for you. That is why I hid it, why I never spoke of it, but blood binds us, and so the burden is now yours. Trust no one, not even family, especially family." I lowered the pages slowly, my hands trembling. My father involved in deaths, in secrets, in something people would kill for. And now he had passed that burden to me. I glanced at the black notebook line on the oar. My father's warning echoed in my head. "Read only when you are ready." But was I ready? The notebook felt heavier than it should have, as though the leather cover absorbed every secret written inside. My father's handwriting led the RSD page, neat and precise, nothing like the man I remembered, a man of silence and brief nods. 1979, it began. The deal was supposed to be simple: keep it hidden, ask no questions, and in return, my family would be safe. But nothing about the night was simple. Holloway never showed. Instead, blood was spilled, and the thing I swore to protect was forced into my hands. I swallowed hard and turned the page. The object is not what it appears to be. To some, it is a relic. To others, proof. To all, it is dangerous. They will search for it as long as they live, and if they empty out it, as with me, they will never stop. My eyes darted to the locked chest again, half expecting something to stir inside it, though I knew it was empty now. The further I read, the darker it became. Lists of names, men who had asked too many questions, notes about movements at the warehouse, warnings scratched in haste. They re-watching. Never trust the ones who smile RSD. If Richard ever learns the truth, he must decide whether to carry it or destroy it. My throat tightened. This wasn't just my father's past. It was my inheritance. Not land. Not wealth. A curse. And just as that thought struck me, I heard something outside the window. A car engine idling. Not passing by, waiting. I froze, clutching the notebook against my chest. The low hum of the engine outside was steady, patient. Too patient. Slowly, I crept toward the window, careful not to make the upwards creak. Through the thin curtain, I saw the outline of a dark sedan parked across the street. Its headlights were low, but the faint glow of a cigarette burned from the driver's side. Someone was out there. Watching. Waiting. My father's words called at the back of my mind. If others discover you possess it, they will come for you. I stepped back from the window, pulse hammering in my ears. How could they know already? I had only just found the letters, the notebook. Unless they had been waiting all along, knowing sooner or later I'd return to the house. I grabbed the envelope, the notebook, the photograph, stung them into my bag with trembling hands. Every instinct screamed at me to leave. Yet part of me hesitated. Wasn't this what my father wanted? For me to indeed the truth? If I ran now, would I ever uncover? The engine outside revved once, sharp and deliberate, as if to remind me time was running out. I killed the lights in the house and held my breath in the darkness. That's when I realized something chilling. The engine had gone silent, and the sound I heard next wasn't from outside. It was footsteps. Inside the house. Footsteps were slow, deliberate. Each one pressed into the silence like a nail being driven into wood. My breath caught in my throat as I pressed myself against the wall, straining to hear. Whoever it was, they weren't trying to be quiet. They wanted me to know they were there. I tightened my grip on the notebook. Ridiculous, I thought W. Hapgood was a book against whoever had just entered. Still, it felt like the only shield I had. They all groaned again. Closer now. Just at the bottom of the stairs. I dared to glance over the railing. In the dim glow of the moonlight filtering through the window, I saw the shape of a man tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark coat. His face was hidden in shadow, but the way he moved slow, steady, content he wasn't here to steal. He was here for something specific. For me. I swallowed hard, forcing myself not to panic. My father's warning echoed again in my head. Trust no one, especially family. Family? Thought chilled me deeper than the presence of the stranger below. Could it be someone I knew? The man paused at the bottom step, as if he could feel me watching. Then, in a low, gravelly voice that cut through the silence, he said just 3 words. It's your turn. My legs felt heavy, as though the stairs themselves were holding me back. The man slowly lifted his head, and in the pale moonlight I caught a glimpse of his face. It wasn't a stranger. It was my uncle. My father's younger brother, David. I hadn't seen him in nearly 20 years. Last I heard, he'd vanished after a string of failed business ventures and whispers of trouble with the wrong people. Now here he was standing in my father's house like he belonged there. Uncle David? My voice cracked. He smirked faintly, as though I'd just solved a puzzle too simple to matter. So you found it, he said, nodding toward the bag slung over my shoulder. He always said you would. My chest tightened. What are you talking about? He took a step onto the stairs, each creak louder than the last. The letters, the notebook, the thing he swore to keep hidden, it was never his, it was mine. I gripped the railing, struggling to breathe. My father had said nothing of this. David's eyes burned into me. Give it to me, Richard. Before you make the same mistake he did. Before it kills you too. I shook my head, clutching the bag tighter. Tell me, was it his RSD? Tell me why my father died with all these secrets. For the RSD time, his condensed mask faltered. He hesitated. And then he whispered, almost like a confession. Because it wasn't supposed to be his burden, it was supposed to be mine. His words struck me like a blow. It was supposed to be mine. I shook my head, anger and confusion colliding inside me. Then why did he take it from you? David's jaw tightened. Because he thought I wasn't strong enough, because he wanted to control it himself, but he didn't understand what it really meant, none of them did. He climbed another step, eyes set on the bag at my side. What is inside that notebook isn't just stories, Richard, it is proof of what happened in 79, proof that the man in that warehouse wasn't just a victim, he was a traitor, and proof that your father wasn't as innocent as you want to believe. My chest constricted. The words blurred in my head, traitor, innocent, proof. David's voice dropped lower, trembling with something that felt too raw to be a lie. Your father stole something that night, something men have killed for, and would again. That object, that secret, it was meant for me. He locked me out, ruined my life, and left me with nothing but shadows, and now you're standing here, holding it like you earned it. I forced the words out. What is it? David smiled bitterly. It isn't money, it isn't land, it is worse. It is a truth powerful enough to bury families, to ruin names, to topple men who still walk free today. That is why they killed him, and that is why, if you keep it, they'll all come for you too. The silence between us was suffocating. And then he extended his hand, palm open, voice breaking into a command. Give it to me before it destroys you the way it destroyed him. For a moment I couldn't move. My uncle's hand hung in the air between us, trembling ever so slightly, though his voice had been our own. He wanted me to believe him. But after everything I had read, everything my father had warned, how could I? I thought of the line in my father's letter, trust no one, especially family. My chest tightened. Could this be what he meant? That David would come? That he would demand the very thing my father had died protecting. I don't even know what is real anymore, I muttered, more to myself than to him. David's eyes narrowed. Then let me show you. Hand it over, Richard. I can finish what your father started. You don't have to carry this weight. I clutched the bag tighter. My father's handwriting etched in my mind, those desperate scrawls. If Richard ever learns the truth, he must decide whether to carry it or destroy it. Destroy it. The thought shot through me like lightning. That was an option. I didn't have to hand it to David. Didn't he have to continue the chain of blood and secrets? I could end it. But what if destroying it meant burying a truth the world needed to know? David must have seen the doubt in my eyes, because he lunged forward suddenly, his hand reaching for the bag. I stumbled back, heart racing, torn between the man in front of me and the ghost of the man who raised me. And in that instant, I realized whichever choice I made would end the rest of my life. Time slowed. My uncle's hand tore at the bag, but instinct took over. I shoved him back with all the strength I had, stumbling toward the place where an old iron poker leaned against the bricks. My grip tightened around it as my heart hammered in my chest. David straightened, breathing hard, his eyes burning with a mix of rage and desperation. You don't understand, Richard. That truth isn't yours to God. It was mine from the beginning. I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. Maybe, but Father chose me, and he told me one thing you'll never accept. Sometimes the only way to protect the future is to bury the past. Before he could reach me again, I held the notebook into the re. The pages caught instantly, crawling into aim and melting into ash. David screamed, lunging forward, but it was too late. The secrets my father carried for decades turned to smoke before our eyes. He fell to his knees, clutching his head, his voice breaking into a hoarse whisper. You've doomed us all. I stood there trembling, watching the re-consume every answer I thought I wanted. Relief and grief twisted together in my chest. Had I done the right thing? Had I honored my father or betrayed him? The last page crumbled into embers, sparks drifting up the chimney. The room went silent, except for David's ragged breaths. And as I turned to leave the house, one question echoed louder than all the rest. Had I just saved my family or destroyed the truth forever? What would you have done in my place? Kept the secret, exposed it, or destroyed it? Sometimes, inheritance isn't measured in money or land, it is measured in the weight of truths too heavy to carry.